All right, today I want to show you my Baruuk God-Mode build, also known as I walk into Steel Path and everything either goes to sleep or explodes. This is not a beginner build. This is a fully invested setup with Helminth, Archon Shards, and Arcanes, but in return you get ridiculous damage reduction, effortless crowd control, 610% status chance, and Desert Wind that turns enemies into a fireworks show. Let's start with the mod setup. For the aura, I use Steel Charge. We're punching things, not shooting them, and the extra mod capacity is always nice. In the Exilus slot, I use Primed Sure-Footed, because lying on the floor is cringe. No knockdowns means no DPS loss and better vibes overall. Now for the core mods: Blind Rage, Primed Continuity, Archon Stretch, Overextended at rank 3, Primed Flow, Umbral Intensify, Umbral Vitality, and the Reactive Storm Augment. And this is where most people mess it up. Overextended is only rank 3 on purpose. At rank 3, we land exactly at 205% ability range. That hits Elude's 360-degree dodge cap. Anything above that gives you 0 benefit and just kills your ability strength. So no, rank 5 is not better. Rank 3 is the sweet spot. We also use Archon Stretch, but not for the range. We use it because it restores energy when electricity procs. And Reactive Storm plus Desert Wind means you are constantly proccing electricity. So Archon Stretch basically turns your punches into energy batteries. Yes, it's scuffed. Yes, it works. Now let's talk about the abilities. First, Elude. Elude dodges incoming projectiles, but only while you are not attacking. With 205% range, it reaches the full 360-degree dodge angle, so you can dodge shots from every direction. The fun part is when you combine Elude with Desolate Hands. Their seeking radius gets doubled. That means more enemies get disarmed, more restraint gets eroded, and you get more moments where you wonder why you are not dying. Second ability, Lull. Lull sends out a wave that slows enemies until they fall asleep. With this build, the wave expands for 7.75 seconds, reaches a final radius of 51 meters, and puts enemies to sleep for 31 seconds. That's not crowd control, that's a zoning permit. If enemies wake up early from damage, the amnesia effect kicks in. They forget you exist and just stand there like NPCs who lost their script. Lull is mainly here for massive crowd control and for deleting your restraint bar as fast as possible. Now there is an optional Helminth variant. If you're in a numbers go brr mood, you can replace Lull with Kullervo's Wrathful Advance. This gives you plus 233% melee critical chance for 16 seconds. Which turns Desert Wind into a red crit printer and a questionable life choice. But this is not a straight upgrade. You lose Lull, you lose big crowd control, and you lose easy restraint farming. So this is a playstyle swap, not a free buff. Third ability, Desolate Hands. Desolate Hands summons orbiting daggers that disarm enemies, give damage reduction, and erode restraint. With this build, you get 19 charges, 90% damage reduction per dagger, a seeking radius of 12 meters, and that radius is doubled while Elude is active. This is your main defensive ability. If this is running and you still die, that's not the build's fault anymore. Fourth ability, Serene Storm. Once your restraint bar is empty, you activate Serene Storm and pull out Desert Wind. While active, you get an extra 40% damage reduction and switch to Exalted Melee mode. The real power comes from the Reactive Storm Augment. It gives 610% status chance, guaranteed status procs, and adaptive damage types based on enemy weaknesses. So Desert Wind always applies status, always feeds condition overload, and always spreads pain. Now let's talk about how to start a mission. First, energy. Drop an energy pad at the start. Yes, it's boring. Yes, it makes everything smoother. If you start in a crowded area, cast Lull first. Put half the map to sleep and melt your restraint bar. If the map is quiet, cast Desolate Hands first. Get your 90% damage reduction and disarm anything that walks into you. Once restraint is low, activate Serene Storm and start vacuum cleaning rooms. Now for arcanes and archon shards. For arcanes, I use Arcane Fury. On critical hits, you get a high chance for 180% melee damage for 18 seconds. If you are not critting with this build, something is deeply wrong. The second arcane is Arcane Universal Fallout. Enemies killed with radiation damage can drop universal orbs. Reactive Storm means tons of status. Radiation is everywhere, so this gives you free energy, free health, and free dopamine. For Archon Shards, I use 2 Violet Shards for melee critical damage. Each gives 37.5%, and the bonus is doubled because my energy max is over 500. I use 2 Crimson Shards for ability strength, and 1 Amber Shard for casting speed. That last slot is flexible, so do whatever you want there. Now the heart of the build, Desert Wind. For mods, I use Umbral Pressure and Umbral Steel for massive crit chance and melee damage, Galvanized Reflex to start at a 4 to 5 times combo multiplier, Condition Overload for scaling damage per status effect, Amalgam Organ, Shatter for crit damage and faster heavy attacks, Focus Radon and Shocking Touch for radiation and electricity to trigger universal fallout. For the melee arcane, I use Melee Influence. On electricity procs, it spreads all status effects in a 20-meter radius. Yes, it is as stupid as it sounds. For Focus School, I use Naramon with Power Spike. That way, the combo counter decays slowly instead of resetting, and Desert Wind stays at peak power. For the companion, I use a Pharaoh Predasite. For the bond engine, I use Duplex Bond, Momentous Bond, Tandem Bond, Contagious Bond, and Seismic Bond, which gives 30% ability efficiency while abilities are active. For support, I use Endoparasitic Vector for viral and slow, and Anabolic Pollination for toxin damage. For survival, I use Prime Pack Leader so my pet heals from melee damage and is basically immortal. To wrap it up, this build gives you absurd survivability, lazy crowd control, guaranteed status application, and very comfortable steel path performance. If you like punching entire rooms into submission without thinking too hard, this is one of the most relaxed Baruuk builds you can play. Have fun with it, and enjoy being unreasonably hard to kill.